Good afternoon, folks. What's up? We finally made it to week one. As you know, we're talking everything with FAMU Norfolk State today. Of course, we're talking players to watch, a couple facts about both schools, how things played out, answer a couple of your questions as well too. Oh man, so we are not streaming on Instagram for this today. So for those of you that may be on one app and hoping for Instagram, stay where you are. But without further ado, we're going to talk about everything. One rule change in college football that happened apparently that I just discovered, as well too. Also, we're also just keeping up with scores and stuff right now. Florida State leads Georgia Tech 11-7 right now. That's being played out. Yes, that's a dog right behind me. It's not my dog, but nevertheless. So you'll see the dog in the background from time to time. But as always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to leave comments throughout this episode as well too. Shoot any thoughts you may have. Shoot any score predictions you may have. If you're going to the game today, please, be safe. Of course, be responsible. Don't drink and drive. All that being said, and without further ado, I guess we can just go ahead and jump into the intro. So don't go anywhere. Get comfortable. For those of you that are new, I think you're going to like the new intro. Let's go.
It's the orange and green hoe. Gotta let me cook like Olean's hoe. Pull up to the set, rockin' green like she goes. Soul Train hero, do it for the people. What's up with all these lame schools hating on fam? J-Bird won't shake none of their hands. How many options really got? Cause they keep hating like. Don't hear the hate cause the band keep playing like. Can't hear the band all in our ear. Sometimes you gotta pop out and show certified champions. We the ones that up to scoring them. Trolling us about that money, we just ignoring them. Knowing them, they tried to get in, but we say no to them. SWAC, you didn't like us none. You better not let us win another one. To any team that's facing us and think we done, just know the 100 got the halftime one. Y'all love when Willie left, you thinking that it's over now. At least we got a bowl first, it's a celebration now. But he scammed us with that donation. Now we gotta show our ass like graduation. We up by 21. Rattlers number one. And y'all here rent free. Ain't you tired? Wanna be relevant, so they tryna be rivals. Can't brag like us. 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 Tell them we outside. We outside. Tell them we outside. We outside. Tell them we outside. We outside. Tell them we outside.
Folks, let's get right into it. So, you know what? Let's start with Norfolk State. Actually, let's start with them first. So, as follows, of course. So last year, basically last year, Norfolk State 3-8 team. If you hear noise in the background, I'm in a house right now, so bear with me. So last game, Norfolk State, and you're only as good as your last game. Lost South Carolina State 17-44. Blowout. Could not stop the run, couldn't stop the pass, couldn't stop much of anything. Into the game, into the season, I think they had just given up and just said, "Come finish me now," essentially. So the new starting quarterback for them, essentially, Jalen Daniels, two-dimensional QB, he can pass and he can run. An offense that loves to run the ball, based off of what I saw last year. I doubted if Dawson Odums has changed, especially getting a dual threat quarterback. Now, I wouldn't put anything past running the option with this offense, possibly. So I would expect to see that too. I wouldn't even doubt it, even though I do think it's going to be straight up handoffs. An offense that loves to run the ball. Oh, I already said that. Running backs are heavily involved in the passing attack as well. One interesting fact about it is this team, Norfolk State, has never won a season opener since Dawson Odums has gotten to campus. And you trace that back to basically 2021. It's 2024. So the odds are in FAMU's favor right there. As well, too, poor tackling all around, as I stated, against South Carolina State in their last game. from last season. We'll see how much of that has changed. Secondary is very vulnerable based off of what I've also seen. And then also, as I already mentioned with the option, be mindful of the triple option out of a full house backfield. So basically what I'm saying is, and if I could draw it, it'd be a little bit easier. You've got quarterback, you've got running back, and you've also got a running back here. So essentially what will happen is you can do anything. You can release all of them, fake a handoff one way, go the other way. Some form of a triple option expected. It's coming. Also, a little interesting Olympic fact, Simone Biles' brother is involved in reverse runs, at least in what I had seen. He wears number 5 for their offense. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Also, too, Coach Colsey hinted at, 4 or 5 returning offensive linemen on Norfolk State's squad are preseason all MEAC selections. So that's another thing to keep in mind. In that last game against South Carolina State, they also gave up 305 rushing yards in their last game, 6.2 yards per carry. As far as players to watch for tonight goes for Norfolk State, Jalen Daniels from Garden City Community College in that one season that's upnoted and tallied, 1,282 passing yards, 9 TDs. Running back Kevin King returns, and also running back Xavier Evans also returns. They also have Jaquez Jones at wide receiver, who's one of their star players, and then Teron Biles Walker, that's the little brother of Simone Biles. And also be mindful of Elijah Mitchell as well. That's their trio at wide receiver. Otto Kuntz is out for the first 4 games as he awaits an NCAA ruling. I'm not sure what he did. I'm very curious to find out what it is that he did. But that's interesting. Also, Dalen Long, second-team MEAC defense. So that's their starting linebacker along with A.J. Richardson, first-team MEAC defense. And then also, too, Teron Mallory, first-team MEAC defense. He stands out on film as well. He stood out a lot in that game against Howard last season, making plays left and right, and which eventually led to Howard being the eventual MEAC champs. And also, too, they do have excellent safety play. I mentioned earlier, I know and I understand I mentioned that, they are very vulnerable in their secondary, but be mindful, too, that this is when they're on, they're on. I know it's kind of contradicting, but bear with me. So now for FAMU, as follows, your last game against Howard, you win 30-26, your Celebration Bowl champions. But again, as we all hoped and were praying Billy would be back, it didn't always work out that way. So, Willie Simmons stepped down as head coach basically on New Year's Day. Wait about a whole month later, essentially, James Colsey takes the job as the new head coach, the 19th head coach. And for those of you that don't know, yes, James Colsey went to Florida State, played for Bobby Bowden, played in an exceptional defense under Mickey Andrews. He was a member of that infamous choke it dope game. So for those that don't know or are saying, what is he talking about? The choke it doke is the game that will forever go down in history as the game where Florida came in, got up 31-3. Florida State comes back and ties the game 31-31 because Bobby Bowden elects to go for the tie instead of going for the win because he had learned his lesson from playing Miami in '87. And so from there, Colsey was, again, one of those memorable players. And then later on, Florida State would play Florida in the fourth quarter and French Quarter game, which was the 95 Sugar Bowl, where Florida State would win. Florida would win the next one in 96 for the title. That's my spiel for that. Now, back to the rest of the programming. So recruiting stayed at a high level. A lot of praise for the offensive line and quality depth from Coach Joe Henry and Coach Colsey. No team has ever to date still, since the Celebration Bowl has been moved to Atlanta, no team has ever started in Atlanta and finished in Atlanta. So that's the other thing to keep an eye on here. So, we're going to see where this goes out of the gate. And then, of course, by all the geniuses that had control over it, FAMU has been picked to finish second in the SWAC East per media day. That's fine. Hey, national media hasn't been picked. And started the season at number 25 in the country for the second straight year. Last year, they opened up at 25. Came into the game, pounded Jackson State. We're going to see if you can try to do it again today. So with that being said, also, too, only one member of the offensive line was named to SWAC preseason honors, which, ironically enough, and I mentioned it in the preseason breakdown. I'm like, how is there only one guy when you have all these players coming back like Cesar Reyes, Jalen Goss, TJ Lee? Like, someone explain this to me. Like, this offensive line is back and has added quality depth behind it. But hey, it's fine, perfectly fine. And with that being said, I guess we can dive into players to watch. So as far as the players to watch goes, Dana Richardson, FAU transfer, named the starter. What was that? Not Sunday, but like Monday, I believe it was. And honestly, too, if you've seen the Running On podcast on Wednesday nights, Ace has alluded to it a lot, because Ace primarily points to that USF game where Dana Richardson essentially went in, tossed 4 TD passes, shredded USF secondary, and was like, you know what? Despite the 21 TDs and the 10 interceptions, I think he's the starter. I think he's your guy. And if you look at it, honestly, and I've mentioned this too on Wednesday, you have to wonder I'm sorry, excuse the dog bark. I'm sorry. Excuse that. But be mindful of the fact that when did the interceptions happen? He had 10, but how did the 10 happen? I haven't personally gone back and looked at every game and alluded to and thought about like when and how all 10 happened. Did he throw it into triple coverage? Was it a miss route by a wide receiver? Was it, did he have pressure in his face? What was the offensive line like at Florida Atlantic? How was all of that? Those are multiple factors to keep in mind. So I can't fully put it all on Dana Richardson saying he doesn't know how to read defenses. So we're going to see what he can do with Coach Henry Burris and how it affects everything and how it plays out tonight. We're going to learn. We're going to learn a lot that we want to have answered tonight. What is life without Willie going to look like? Things such as that. As well, too, also running backs, keep in mind, too, Kelvin Dean, Celebration Bowl MVP, had 2 receiving TDs at that in the game. And then also, too, running back Bo Somerset, who's a young player who I was very high on coming out of the spring game, who I expected to step up in a major way. And will start tonight, by the way. Wide receiver Jamari Gass at 320 receiving yards, 3 TDs last season. He's expected to have a bigger role this year per James Colsey on this show Monday night, Monday Night Football, that was an eternity ago. And then also, too, speaking of alphas on defense, and also players to watch tonight, Alan Smith, who entered the portal, came out, still stayed with the team, 30 total tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, 1 forced fumble, all last year. Eric Horn, who steps into a major role now with Chainsaw Chaney gone to Colorado and Isaiah Major now gone on to the professional level. 10 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss that season, and then, of course, the best DB in the SWAC, Kendall Bowler, another player to watch on defense. So, with that being said, and also, too, if you guys do have any comments that you guys want to fire off, be sure to leave one. We're listening. We're all ears. But before I do go into questions that I have personally, I guess I can kind of talk about it. The rule change. So, I know it affects the FBS level. I'm not sure how it's going to affect the FCS level tonight. But quarterbacks and head coaches, 15 seconds of communication between each other prior to the snap. So with that being said, Coach Colsey or Coach Burris, whoever decides to have radio in Dan Richardson's helmet or in Junior Murtovich's helmet, you will have 15 seconds to communicate with your guy, if that rule also applies to the FCS, to communicate and get the play in before it shuts off. And it automatically shuts off just like in the NFL. So that is one rule change to be mindful of. Or who knows, it could also be Coach Henry who's communicating with Dan Richardson in that fashion and in that facet. So, it's a huge deal now that it's going to probably change the way that a lot of communication with the offense works. It may make the game a little bit easier, but, hopefully it's for the best. As well, too, so a couple of questions I have regarding both sides tonight. I'm going to start with the FAMU questions. Does the defense pick up where it left off? That's one thing I think everybody's wondering, and the expectation is yes, it does. I think it will personally. I think, Jalen Jalen Daniels is a nice and exceptional player, but again, community college defenses are a lot different from what he's going to see tonight in an FCS defense that was essentially ranked number 1 last year, and I think probably did get faster and it did probably become more aggressive. So I would be mindful of that. I think it will pick up where it left off. Why is it critical for this offensive line to flex early and often? Honestly, you want to establish the line of scrimmage right away. You want to flex your muscles. You want to let Norfolk State know, like, this is not going to be an easy game. This is going to be a long night. You have to establish dominance at the line of scrimmage first. Show them essentially you can't penetrate this offensive line in the pass rush. With the pass rush, you will be driven downfield when it comes to running the ball. So establishing your offensive line right out of the gate, and I think that's something Coach Henry and Coach Burris will want to do, especially with having a 6'7" tight end in Jalen Evans, and then having I think it was Carter Johnson at tight end, and of course Jeremy Pruitt. I think having a loaded tight end room as they do will help out too in establishing a run game. I guess that one kind of answered itself Monday. How does the QB situation get handled? I think that kind of took care of itself. Who steps up as one of the alphas in these roles? I think you can kind of point to the two guys that essentially went to SWAC Media Day, and Kendall Bowler and Kelvin Dean as well too. I think I'm also looking at Daniel Richardson, as he mentioned earlier this week in interviews, saying the guys responded well to him and stuff. He's trying to establish himself as a leader. He realized coming in that it was not going to be easy. He still had to work because guys are coming before from the FBS position and haven't essentially established themselves in that leadership role. So I can understand it as well too. You got Jamari Gassett, you got another guy I haven't even mentioned either, James Ash, who also has kind of stepped up in that leadership role, and of course Eric Horn and Kendall Bowler. Kendall Bowler among everyone should be that main guy that's kind of stepped up in that alpha role and a leader on defense, seeing as though he's worked with Colsey closely the most since he's been at FAMU, as well too, even considering the fact that he's seen the most playing time, I think, of anybody that's returning on this defense. Seeing that he came in 21 with his brother BJ Bowler, and now he's essentially the leader of this defense. As well too, why is the fast start important tonight? Look, you can't against a team like this who was 3-8. These teams, they feel like if you leave them hanging around long enough that they feel like they can play with you. This is the type of team you go for the jugular right out the gate. And when I say fast start, I mean, heck, if you can have a repeat, whoever's returning kicks tonight, of Marcus Riley's kickoff return to start the season last year against Jackson State, by all means, let that be a way. Some type of long, explosive run, some type of play to keep Norfolk State off balance right out of the gate, some type of fast start to create a spark on offense, or some type of big impact play on defense. Something that will rile up the sideline, get it going, get it juiced up, and that will kind of set the tone to say, hey, you know what, this is going to be a long day. You are not physical enough to play with us. You can't play with us. And for 60 minutes, you belong to us. You need that type of statement, I feel, for a fast start. So that being said, now questions for Norfolk State. How vulnerable is this run defense? Things such as that. And then at the same time, too, how vulnerable is this run defense? I would say, I think it very, very much is. This was one of the worst rush defenses I felt like I saw in the MEAC last year. And I think, again, it'll be exposed. Tonight, you have a trio of running backs that will be able to take advantage. How improved will they be at tackling? Not counting on it. Not counting on it at all. What must be done to keep FAMU's defense off balance? If you are Norfolk State, if you're Norfolk State, you have to create misdirection. That is probably your best bet, because you're not going to beat FAMU running a track meet. You're not going to beat a team full of athletes out of Florida running a track meet. It's just not going to happen. So your best bet is create some type of misdirection, create some type of confusion, and create conflict. Because the game hasn't started yet. That's why I'm not. When the game starts, I'll have my orange on. But for now, no orange. Plus, black is my color. Black is slimming. And I'm sure everybody would agree with me. As well, too, to what degree is Biles Walker utilized? I think, as I mentioned earlier, creating misdirection, reverses, they're going to get him involved in reverses. That was his bread and butter play. He came in specifically against Howard and I think against South Carolina State when you go back and look at last year's tapes and ran misdirection. Now, maybe since he was a true freshman then, now he's a little bit more established and his playbook a little bit more. Maybe they leave him in more to allow him to do more plays, probably utilize him going across the middle, utilize him trying to take him deep because he is smaller, he has speed, and even still with the misdirection. So there are multiple facets of how you can get him going and get him involved in this attack. Let's see here. Will they even generate a pass rush? Going against this offensive line, that remains to be seen. That's tough. Their secondary is elite, but the pass rush, I am not too confident in. Don't know. Expect man-to-man with a hint of zone. Yeah, expect that from Norfolk State's defense. If I am Norfolk State's defense, I'm not challenging this FAMU wide receiving core man-to-man. I'm staying in zone. If they want to go man-to-man, good night. Good night. If they go man-to-man against FAMU, FAMU's going to take full-fledged advantage. And I think FAMU will gut them and expose them with that. Now, that being said, since nobody has any questions or comments, you can feel free to drop your score predictions and go ahead and share them. But with that being said, too, I'll go ahead and go to my keys to victory for tonight. So key to victory number 1, of course, take advantage of a clean pocket. If I'm Dan Richardson, you got to take advantage of a clean pocket, utilize it. You have because we've seen it before and we read it in his stat line. He's thrown 4 TD passes for multiple yards before. He has it in him to go crazy. If you have a clean pocket, utilize it. If the check down is there and the deep route is not open, utilize the check down. You have Kelvin Dean there for a reason. Bo Somerset, I'm sure, can receive out of the backfield. Second one, lean on the rushing attack. My expectation is, and I'm sure all of your expectation is, this rushing attack tonight between the multitude of running backs that will see action tonight, this offensive line or this rushing attack should have 200 yards minimum, quite honestly. I'm expecting 200 yards out of this rushing attack between all of them. I'm not saying one single guy have 200 yards, but I think, between Kelvin Dean, between Bo Somerset, between Thad Franklin the transfer out of Miami, I think all of them combined for 200 yards tonight. I think that's your target. That's what it should be. And as well, too, if you are Norfolk State's defensive line, you need to be exploited. So if I'm FAMU's offensive line, I'm exploiting that defensive line. I'm wearing them out. By the third quarter, Norfolk State should be sucking for win. They should have nothing left to give. It should be that, much like how they finished the season, come finish me now. Get it over with. They haven't seen an offensive attack like what they're going to see today. Not to mention, these guys are already pissed off because of the fact that they did not make preseason honors for the SWAC. They're already pissed off. So, and again, my apologies. There's a dog barking. I'm sorry. So be mindful of that. My apologies. We're almost done, folks. We're almost done. But with that being said, yes, you need to exploit the Norfolk defensive line. If you do that, you've got them right where you want them. And with that, I'll go ahead and give my score prediction, and I'll get out of here. So my score prediction for tonight is as follows. I think FAMU wins this game walking away easy, right out the gate, explosive, reminding us of why they are the defending champs and what to expect during this title defense. I think you get FAMU 41, Norfolk State 21. I think a lot of these touchdowns for Norfolk State, I think 2 at least come late in the game. And I think it'll be a flexing of the muscles, a dominance display, reminding Norfolk State, even though we're not in the MEAC anymore, we still own you. We're still in charge. And plus, also, too, a little good luck charm about me. For every time that in the 3 times that I've been here in the past to see a FAMU game, I haven't seen FAMU lose. So hopefully the luck continues tonight and it doesn't run out. But again, I'm sticking with that for this evening. So, yeah, that's what I got for you today. I hope y'all have enjoyed. Nobody has any comments in the comment section. There will be no post-game reaction tonight, so nobody be disappointed. There won't be any. So with that being said, the next time that you see me, if you don't see me tonight at the game, will be Wednesday in the Running Gun podcast. Me and Ace, make sure you tune in for that as well. So, yeah. Unless nobody has anything else. So with that being said, definitely if you're going to the game tonight, be safe, make smart decisions. Yeah, pretty much, stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see you out there tonight. Or if not, we will see you next week. So take care.